I want to move to what time is it? Okay, I want to move to Iran just for about 15 minutes. Um, I gave a monologue this morning where I was trying to give a white hat version of events and a black hat version of events. And what I mean by white hat is a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get, meaning there's no five-dimensional chess. Trump is going into negotiations. There were some reports that he was actually trying to get a deal in a way that Joe Biden just didn't seem to care about it. And as I pointed out, over the course of him trying to get a deal, it escalated. Meaning, like you said, last person in the room, Witkoff comes back, has one notion of, okay, we're going to lower the number of the amount of refining. And then all of a sudden it became, well, we need now the Libyan model. And, you know, the white hat version of it.
Let's specify that, right? The absurd demands that the Trump administration came out with last week, right,
Yes.
is that Iran must give up its entire civilian nuclear energy program, which they are entitled to under international law and the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, right?
Which is different than what they started with, is my point.
Yes, absolutely. Completely different, right? And which Russia built Bushehr, their nuclear power plants, right? And the other thing they're arguing is that Iran must give up all support for Shiite groups, you know, the axis of resistance throughout the Middle East, right? Because the U.S. is allowed to have and arm proxies, but Iran is not. Right. That's the nature of the game.
Yeah. So the reports were coming out that the U.S. and Netanyahu, or Trump and Netanyahu, were at odds. And part of this had to do with Mike Waltz being a spy for Israel, Trump being humiliated.
On the stand that Mike Waltz is a spy for Israel, you can say that 95% of the members of the House and the Senate and many people at other levels are spies for Israel, right?
Agreed.
I mean, I'm not saying literally. I'm just talking about the enormous influence that IPAC has, right, which Mearsheimer and Stephen Waltz have remember written the book on the Israeli lobby and its pernicious effect on American foreign policy. Right?
Agreed. But Waltz had the Signal app where he was literally sending secret documents to Israel, right? And so Trump, according to reporting, felt some kind of way about it, felt like he was being maneuvered, was humiliated by it, got rid of Waltz, and started to be more punitive to Israel. So in one case, you know, allowed Yemen to say, hey, if you don't attack us, we don't attack you. But you can still attack Israel if you want. Israel was apparently blindsided by it. The Saudi Arabia thing, effectively allowing the nuclear power plant to go up without the recognition of Israel, meaning he started to take action against Israel. Even the Hamas thing, where he started to have back channel communication with Hamas, sidelining Israel. Witkoff goes and speaks to the family saying Israel's fought because Israel wants to keep the war going as opposed to getting rid of the hostages. And so a white hat version of this is, okay, maybe he feels some kind of way about Netanyahu, and Trump being a petty man is acting like a petty man and is now taking certain action that's against Israeli interests. Okay, fast forward to Iran. Well, the black hat version of this is,
this is also a complicated plot to go to war with Iran.
Exactly. That all things being equal, that, all of this is nice, but this is side stuff. The reality of it is Trump escalated demands in a way that he knew full well that Iran was not going to accept from the very beginning, because they said from the very beginning, this is not something we're going to accept. And
why didn't Trump just bomb Iran? If he really wanted to, why didn't he just bomb Iran? No one would question that if he did.
For the exact same reason that Putin is going through the motions of this idea of I'm being a peacemaker. Zelensky is saying, okay, I'm waiting for the peacemaker. Meaning there's political, let's say, gravitas, or let's say political credibility built into this notion of we at least tried to make peace. It's like, why didn't George Bush just immediately bomb Iraq? He could have. But what did he do? He went through this entire peace process to make it look as if, well, we tried. We did everything we could, which is exactly what Trump is doing right now. The weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, weapons of mass destruction in Iran. We need to go through a peace process for Iraq.
That's putting a degree of diplomatic and political subtlety to Trump that Trump has not evidenced at all anywhere else or in this. I don't think it really cares. First
But
of all,
wait,
if
real
he
quick.
said
But
we're going to attack Iran tomorrow, there would be no diplomatic consequences in the United States because it is a bipartisan position in the United States for the support of Israel and for the hatred of Iran.
Policy documents, though, explain exactly what's taking place right now. Go through the negotiations, try to get this kind of world credibility that you at the very least tried to get negotiations blow up, and it gives you a pretext and a context by which you can now strike Iran saying we did everything we could.
There might be some people in Trump's administration who are taking a playbook from policy papers.
Yes.
But I very much doubt that Trump has a grand vision of policy paper.
Right? I agree with you. Yeah. But the people around him, though, do.
This is the evil boy. This isn't a matter of the good czar being misinformed and manipulated by the evil boyars, right? The evil nobles. This is a matter of the evil boyars are bending the ear of the evil czar, right? That's what it is, right? Yes. It's not him being manipulated. He courts this argument of opinion, right? There's a reason why he composed his administration of 90% neocons again and 10% other weird outliers, right? So he wants that argument presented. I've seen this more as a bumbling clown show with different figures within the administration pressing their arguments and their individual policies forward, right? So a lot closer to the white hat version of what you're looking at.
You see
there might be some people in his administration openly wearing that black hat, but I just don't. Trump is not a hat wearing guy.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not. He's got that thing up there, right?
I mean, he clearly put himself in a position very early on saying, if we can't get a deal, we're going to bomb you. Yeah. And then to escalate his demands, because Witkoff in the very beginning, like even Aragachi, the foreign minister of Iran, he says the U.S. keeps changing its demands. Like basically, they don't know what they want.
Yeah, and they don't. Because
like, how do we come to a deal?
The administration is divided on this. So here's what I think happens. I think that at some level, Trump and maybe a number of people around him really don't want a war in the Middle East, just like the Biden administration didn't want a war in the Middle East. It's not that they never want a war in the Middle East. They just don't want one now during their administration. They've got other priorities. He wants to settle Ukraine. That's still a problem. And he wants to pivot to Asia. Every president since Obama has wanted to pivot to Asia and has been unable to do so, right? Yeah. So he comes in doing Trump diplomacy, right? Which is, give me what I want or I'll break your leg and burn down your cousin's house. That is the mafia style diplomacy that Trump does, right? He does it in every situation. He comes out, with bluff and bluster and angry words, and 7 times out of 10 people have given in because it's the United States, right? Let's be clear there. China didn't, but China doesn't have to because China is enormous. China is China, right. But many other countries, including India, have quietly, acquiesced or at least hid in the background, or let's meet behind closed doors in a smoky room and settle this kind of thing, But that's that is what Trump intends, right? This is the art of the deal. This is New York real estate style of diplomacy, right? Like mafia leg breaking stuff, right? Yeah. So, but there are people within his administration who want to give Israel the U.S. war against Iran that they want. So they're pushing for it. So my first assumption was that what Trump was looking for was a JCPOA 2.0 because he ripped up the first one just because it was Obama's, right? 2.0 rebranded, with a Trump trademark and some tacky gold lame covering, right? That he can say
he was, according to
he was, right? But then last week he changed, right, out of the administration, which means someone in his administration bent his ear, and this absurd demands that can only lead to either Trump backing down, right, or war, right?
Right.
Now, there's another argument that this could be another style of bluff, that the Trump will back down from this, but use that in diplomacy. I can't give you my first son, but I'll give you my second son. How's that, right? That kind of argument from on high, and then being able to walk down from it. That's possible, but even that might be giving the Trump administration too quick. I think someone close to him talked to him 15 minutes ago or whatever, and convinced him, that the U.S. could get all of that, right, and that Iran would give in. That leaves them in a tough situation, right? This is like Trump declaring victory over the Houthis. The Houthis capitulated. Well, that's not really what happened, right? I mean, it's not quite that the U.S. capitulated either. It was the U.S. says, yeah, this game isn't to my advantage. I'm getting out of here. We're not gonna try to defend shipping. But notice that the Houthis haven't attacked any commercial shipping in the Red Sea since December. They have continued, however, to launch missiles at Israel.
Right.
That's what they've done, right? Trump had to accept that. He can't stop the Houthis' attacks on Israel.
That's a loss. He wasn't able to accomplish his war aims.
Well, I mean, that depends on yeah. I mean, I consider that a loss for the U.S. and that's what they get for trying to play whack-a-mole against the Houthis in the deserts of Yemen. Wasted, again, more air defense missiles, more long-range strike missiles, and got no effective results from it. But they did hit the Houthis hard enough that the Houthis came to an agreement that they wouldn't attack U.S. warships anymore. Yeah. So it's not quite the 100% victory for the Houthis that some are portraying it from. I would say it's 70% in the Houthis' favor. Once again, to do that against the superpower, right?
Yeah.
The fake hyperpower, again, is quite an accomplishment, right? But people are trying to present it as one side or the other, and it's a bit more nuanced than that. But people don't like complication. They want a simple story, right? Trump, the Houthis capitulated, or the Houthis won, right? I mean, people always want the simple story, and there's very rarely a simple story.
Well, it's kind of hard to put nuance in the title. I guess my point is, he is in a box. Like the notion that you start off saying, we're going to bomb you. We're going to bomb you. He does this for months, by the way.
Yes.
And now he's like, okay, I can't get a deal now because they're not going to give me what I want. And it's very possible that Iran elements want a skirmish in the same way that Russia was able to take its dignity at the barrel of a gun. Well, it may take Iran to do the same thing. In this case, with the U.S. going into unpredictable territory, if indeed they end up with an attack. And I don't
very
know
much doubt that there's many elements in Iran that want a fight at any level with the United States, right?
How does Trump back down from this?
How does Trump 1 week say Zelensky is a dictator, and the next week say that? Did I say that? That doesn't sound like something I say, right? And everyone just agrees. So he can do that the way no other U.S. president can, because he's already presented himself as the madman. As the fool ruling the court, right? He can change on a dime, right? Now, you can argue that hurts U.S. credibility. Trump hurts U.S. credibility every day, right? He bleeds, right? The whole tariff war, right? Everything. But as long as it doesn't affect the MAGA perception of Trump, Trump's okay with that, right? He doesn't need consistency. He can turn on a dime. So maybe he can walk away from it. I wouldn't say that that's what's going to happen, but I'm going to point out that Trump always has the ability to turn on a dime.
You realize, though, that when Witkoff came out, Kofi, give me a moment, I'm coming to you. When Witkoff came out and said, we're going to get Iran's enrichment down by 3.6% or something, Witkoff was attacked vigorously for that, meaning Trump capitulated. Trump failed. Trump gave in to the Iranians. And Witkoff turned on a dime after that and became a hard ass about we need the Libyan option. If we don't get the Libyan option, Iran can't have enrichment. I mean,
Sure,
I can
Witkoff
show you
doesn't
the
have
video.
any beliefs. He's Trump's bagman. He's Trump's loyal and trusted bagman. Witkoff doesn't have any beliefs or opinions about anything in international relations.
No, my point is he is carrying Trump's point of view. And Trump's point of view has changed to no enrichment, no nuclear power, none of that stuff. And
So when
that is
convinced
what
of that, yes.
I don't know how you get out that box. I guess that's my point.
He can, because Trump can just change his mind again.
And you think he's going to do it?
I would argue that other leaders can't do that, right? They can't so easily do that. Trump can.
And you think he's going to do that in this case?
Do I think he's going to do that? I have no idea what he's going to do, right? Again, my theory was JCPOA 2.0 rebranded by Trump. What happened in the last week, how that occurred, right? How that those absurd demands and what they're doing, what they're planning on doing now. And then the whole thing is muddied by this supposed lovers quarrel with Netanyahu, right? It's so muddy. I'm not going to venture. The Middle East is not my area of focus, right? And I'm not going to venture. And I will say before, I've said things about Trump enough and been wrong, right? And I cannot predict Trump. And I'm not the only one. John Mearsheimer just said that this weekend, too, on an interview. I have no idea what Trump's going to do, right? I mean, he makes our job very difficult, right? This is what Putin warned about. Is that when he said he wanted Harris or Biden rather than Trump is because Trump is unpredictable.
That's why I had to give the white hat and the black hat version of it, because I didn't know which. I was like, I'm cynical about this peace process. But
it's not a white hat or a black hat version. It's the orange man version.
Yeah. Mark, always appreciate you, man. Mark Sleboda, International Relations Security Analyst. You can follow Mark on Twitter at MarkSleboda1. You can check him out on Substack. Definitely check out his new channel, Real Politics with Mark Sleboda. That's going to be on Substack, correct? Yes, Substack.com, marksleboda.substack.com. It is coming soon. Oh, that is going to be great. Patrons only. Mark, fantastic, man. Thank you for this. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Jamal. Good chat.
You have a good one. Be safe. All right. Yeah, we'll say it's not black hat, white hat. It's orange man.